Hello, everyone, and welcome to a brand new episode of our podcast, coming to you from one of the most spectacular places in Tenerife, Loro Parque. As many of you already know, as it's been in the news worldwide, a baby orca has just been born here, and it certainly hasn't gone unnoticed. What we want to do today is bring you a little closer to everything we're experiencing here at Loro Parque, so you can feel some of the excitement and emotion we're living through right now. And we've really felt the interest from you as well, through social media and the press, and that energy is definitely reaching us. That's why today we're joined by one of the Orca caretakers from the Loro Parque team, Fran Pina. Fran, how are you doing?
Doing well.
Like we were saying, I imagine these last few days have been very special for you all, haven't they?
Yes, absolutely. It's been such a special time for the Orca team. Morgan giving birth, everything going well, and watching how she interacts with the calf, it's really touched all of us. We're genuinely so happy.
You're originally from the Basque country, right? And now you've ended up here in the Canary Islands, at Loro Parque. I imagine you're delighted to be part of the big family of one of the most important parks in the world.
Yes, well, I'm from Vitoria, but I left there about 20 years ago. I studied biology and I knew I wanted to work with animals. I did some internships, worked in different places, and I arrived here at Loro Parque about 4 years ago.
I imagine you already knew about Loro Parque because Loro Parque is known all over the world.
Yes, I knew it since I was little.
In fact, there are a lot of people who send us letters and emails from children whose biggest dream is to work here and help at Loro Parque. I imagine you see that every day from the people who come by the pools.
Every day we see lots of children, lots of families who see how the animals are, how we take care of them, and they have a great experience here at Loro Parque. And the kids are really enthusiastic. They always say, "What do I have to do to work with animals?" And it reminds me of when I was little. I lived in Vitoria, in a city, and my dream was to work with animals. Since I was small, I knew about Loro Parque. And well, now I'm here.
How are these days going with this event? Which has also been a big piece of news. I don't know if you were also surprised by how much interest it sparked.
Surprised? No, not really, because orcas draw a lot of attention, and whenever something happens with them, it has a global impact. We run a lot of research programs with universities from different parts of the world, so the fact that it made the news and got this reaction, well, really, it doesn't surprise us.
How is day-to-day life during these first weeks of the orca's life? Because these are also delicate days for monitoring the new calf.
The day-to-day is more or less the same. All the orcas need the same care as always. We do everything we always do with them, but now with the baby added. And we're watching 24 hours a day to make sure everything keeps going as it has so far, that everything goes well.
She's already a week and a half old. How have these first days been?
Well, like I said, there's always that uncertainty of how the birth will go. We had already started with night shifts before she gave birth, of course, and we had a plan so that, as soon as we saw signs, the whole team would be ready, vets and everyone, to make sure all went well. So that's what happened. It all went smoothly, everything went well. The mother took care of the calf, she started nursing, and that gave us all peace of mind.
Because that was one of the things people were talking about, the importance of those first steps, like nursing, making sure the calf is feeding well, and I think that's exactly what's happening now.
Yes, Morgan has always been with the calf from the beginning, and everything's been going at a good pace so that the calf can stay with her. And Morgan's guiding her so that the calf can nurse calmly. You could already see how she's adapting. It's just so lovely to watch her.
We're talking a lot about the calf, but Morgan has a very tough history. Years ago, she was found stranded on the Dutch coast, and it was the Dutch courts who decided that the best place in the world for her was Loro Parque. It's really a story of overcoming adversity.
When Morgan arrived, they discovered she was deaf. So most likely, that's why she got lost. And in the wild, she wouldn't have survived. Here, we've adapted to her needs, the fact that she's deaf, and we work exclusively with visual signals. For example, we can't use the whistle that we use with the other animals. With her, it's all visual. So we adapted to her, and thanks to Loro Parque and the fact that she's here, she was saved.
For the people who criticize the situation of these animals, you, as a keeper and as someone involved in research, what would you say about the way these very delicate animals are treated at Loro Parque?
Well, there are always lots of opinions, and usually those opinions are given without any knowledge of what actually goes on in zoological parks like this one. We have to comply with very strict regulations, in every sense. The veterinary team, the animal welfare team, the keepers, we all give everything for these animals, with quality in every aspect. From their care and their food to their physical and mental well-being, everything. So when you hear opinions that, most of the time, are simply not true, you can tell them the truth, but a lot of the time, they won't stop to listen. Because people have opinions without having listened to you, without knowing the facts. We work for the well-being of these animals, but obviously, this is a modern zoo. It's a zoo that has to pass very tough inspections, and it has to meet all the requirements for research, conservation, and welfare. So when people comment without knowing...
One story I was told was about the water quality. The other day we were with Maria Jose, who's in charge of the lab, which is another innovative part of the park, and she told us that sometimes they even say the water at Loro Parque is too clean.
Because yes, the water is obviously tested. In the lab here, and not just here, in external labs too. There's a welfare team here, and there are also external welfare investigations. Not just what people here say, also external institutions. The water, the food, everything is of the highest quality.
So they're almost looked after better than a child, right?
Well, yes, probably.
That's what I'm saying. And one of the things that's prioritized, you mentioned it earlier too, is animal welfare. That's something applied to the orcas. And also to the new calf, right?
Yes, orcas are, as you know, very intelligent animals. So in all zoological parks, and of course here, there must be an animal welfare program. It applies to all animals. Each department has its own. With orcas, it's a very well-researched system. Not just one factor, because animal welfare includes lots of elements. Their physical environment, where they live, mental stimulation, physical stimulation, environmental enrichment. And environmental enrichment stimulates all of the orca senses. We have a huge range of enrichment tools, all just for their well-being.
So, with everything you've told us, this new calf is going to be guaranteed, at least on Loro Parque's part, and the keepers a very happy life, and definitely a healthy one too, right? Yes, absolutely. I don't know what these days have been like. I imagine that when people visit, what do they? Now that the presentations have started, I imagine people are very eager, right?
Of course, Morgan and the calf aren't currently part of the presentation, but visitors can see them a little bit, and they ask about them. There are also smaller group visits, where people can see her briefly and ask questions. Honestly, people are super interested.
All right, that's as far as we'll go. It wasn't that bad, was it? Well, he's used to being with the orcas, and this, being in front of the microphone, is a bit more complicated. Thank you very much. No problem, thank you. And that's it for another episode of our podcast, which we're recording from the facilities here at Loro Parque. See you soon, and thanks so much for being with us.